Calling to order the September 12th Board of Directors meeting for the North Lake County Hospital District. I'd like to say at the outset how much I appreciate our board members being here and our staff and all of you. At this time, the Reverend Matt Turner, staff minister from Faith World in Leesburg, will come with our invocation and lead us in the pledge to the flag.
We all bow our heads to pray. Lord Jesus, we come before you humbly tonight, asking that you would watch over this meeting. We thank you for every man and woman that serves on this board and all the people that are here. We ask that you would grant your wisdom, your compassion, and your courage for good decisions to be made regarding our hospitals and the people of our communities. We ask this humbly in your great name, in the name of Jesus. Amen. Please turn to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have roll call.
Mr. Harper? Here. Ms. Hooper? Here. Mr. Hurley?
Present.
Ms. Price? Mr. Smith? Let the record show we have a quorum.
All right. That's good news. We can now conduct our business. All right. You have in your...
You missed Mr. Jordan. Oh, I apologize, Mr. Jordan.
We counted you.
I'm sorry, Mr.
We just
Jordan.
didn't call your name. In your package, you have the minutes from May 16 and August 29th. We were not able to approve those at our last meeting due to a lack of quorum, but they are in your package now. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at them. So what is your pleasure?
We had, Mark, you had an adjustment to be made. You know if that was corrected on the September minutes?
The minutes, right? It was just a name of inappropriate place. Thank you.
Yes, it was corrected. It was corrected to reflect the correct mark.
Yes, that was it.
Okay. I make a motion to accept both September 14th or 16th and the August 29th meeting minutes.
Second.
I think your motion needs to be May 16th.
May 16th and August 29th.
Yes.
2024.
I will second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. And now we have our quarterly audit that must be approved, so we'll hear from Matt, I guess.
Is a representative from Moore Stevens Lovelace in attendance? Would like to present this report. Okay, well, I will step in for Moore Stevens Lovelace. Included in the packet in the section 5 will be both the March 31st, 2024, as well as the June 30th, 2024 agreed upon procedures report under tab 5. The agreed upon procedures for those quarters reflect a approved reimbursement amount for the hospitals and clinics that would be in accordance with the budgeted amounts they are allowed to receive for the fiscal year or budget year ended June 30. There were no findings in the report that I would like to call attention to the board. We would seek motion and approval of both quarterly agreed upon procedure reports so that we may fund the organizations in accordance with the remittance amount.
All right, do we have a motion?
One moment here. I'll make a motion to accept this reports for both of those quarters, March and June of 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All right,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, are there any additional requests for funding that we did not get at our last meeting? Any additional requests? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We're now going to talk about our millage rates and our budget. So just for the record, this is the North Lake County Hospital District. Our rollback rate is .1383. And so tonight we will determine the increase or decrease of the rollback rate and the millage rate to be levied. Okay, we will have public comments. If anyone would like to speak on this, there are cards that you can fill out over here, and we'll let anyone speak that wants to. We will time you for 3 minutes, so we'd ask you to keep your comments pithy, so we can not be here all night, hopefully.
At this time, we need a vote on whether you're allowing reading of the entire proposed resolution or reading by title only, realizing that the resolutions are not complete, but they will tell you what each resolution will encompass once we discuss the millage and the budget. So I need a vote for reading by title only or reading by the entire resolution.
What's your pleasure?
I make a motion to read by title only.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, the proposed resolution 2024-01 is a resolution of the North Lake County Hospital District providing for the adoption of the millage rate for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
All right, now we'll open it up for public comment. If anyone wishes to speak. I don't have the cards, okay. All right. Christy Folker? Okay. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
You didn't, it's fine. I just, I was here last time and listened to the whole, I watched the May, heard y'all's explanation of what happened and how we got from .15 to 1. So after looking at, and I think I'm reading these financials right, that the total revenue, if we were taxed at the max mill, which everyone has said that they're opposed to, the funding would be 21,000, correct? Based on current property tax values, correct? Okay. So my only ask is that I understand that your job is to propose a millage that meets the need. My ask is that you propose the smallest millage possible to meet the need. Looking at these, for everything to get funded properly, we have to be at a .53. And from a .13 to a .53 is still a very significant increase to the taxpayers of Lake County. I understand that there's been back and forth conversation about not being previously funded prior and administrative costs not being properly funded. There is some money left over from last year, so I would just ask that you guys not try to accomplish everything in one fell swoop. And if it is time that these millage rates do start going up, then you can adjust them annually hereafter. It doesn't look like property taxes are going to fall or decrease significantly that you wouldn't still get. So I know that last time in May, there was a .6 thrown out and a .4 thrown out, and as a taxpayer, I'd be happy if everybody walks away not happy. And I say that meaning the taxpayers need to pay as least as possible to meet the need, even if that means that there's some funding that doesn't get funded. And then you can continue to ask for increases, small increases thereafter yearly that we can plan for or absorb for, but to go from a .13 to a .6 or a .7, and I know that's not on the table, but it's a lot of an ask in a really bad economy. So my ask is that you all be as fiscally conservative as possible for the taxpayers to meet as much of the need as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Matt, what's our carryover? What's our carryover?
We're projecting about $860,000 in carryover. So just want to clarify, for the aforementioned .53, that would cover the full requests that were made at our last meeting. That would be inclusive of utilizing the carry forward fund.
Okay.
That is a net.
All right.
Okay. Gary Windheim?
Good evening.
Good evening, Gary.
My name's Gary Winheim. I'm here with my wife. Our address is 33316 Tewksbury Drive in Leesburg. We are homeowners and taxpayers. In the last meeting, I spoke, and I questioned the review process that was in place to ensure that our tax dollars are being used for indigent care. I was told that there is a stringent review process in place with an auditor here to tell the board that the paperwork submitted by the agencies requesting the tax dollars is in order. Auditing the paperwork submitted by the agencies is not sufficient auditing. I ask again, is there any review process currently in place that ensures the patient is not eligible for any type of insurance, Medicaid, or Medicare prior to being deemed indigent? Are agencies using the same billing standards with those they have deemed indigent as insurance companies would with insured? And that question has not been answered. So the current request by all agencies for the 24 and 25 fiscal year is 10.8 million, and most of the agencies are asking for a similar amount, UF being the outlier with an increase. If all agencies' requests are considered and put UF where they were last year, back at last year's request, and this could be funded by a rate of 0.384, well under what several board members are willing to do and considerably lower than the proposed rate that was defaulted to because the board couldn't make an earlier decision, which I do understand coming to the last meeting. You guys are here to establish a mill rate prior to even having the numbers, which makes 0 sense, about as much sense as having an even number of people on a board. I would like you to consider this. There are some agencies that came to this board and requested tax monies, and I understand and agree and support those agencies. And I'm talking about the community clinics. This tax was put in place when North Lakes County hospitals were Florida Hospital Waterman and Leesburg Regional community hospitals. Since the inception of this tax, both of those hospitals have been acquired by tax-exempt, not-for-profits, UF and Advent Health. And these are not community-based. They're large-scale healthcare giants who receive funding through tax-exempt status as well as federal funding. Our tax money shouldn't be going to these agencies. Stop giving tax money to large corporations and you can decrease the tax. South Lake County already eliminated this tax. If you go forward with an amount that has already been discussed by some members, I can guarantee there will be a push to eliminate this in 2026. Keep the tax reasonable and use it to fund community-based healthcare providers, those agencies that truly need it, not those that are using yet another revenue stream in an effort to become bigger than they already are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Denise Byer?
Good evening. My name is Denise Byer. I live in Mount Dora, have been a homeowner and a taxpayer since 1998. This is basically just a epilogue from my last time here, which was my very first time appearing before you. And I have a little prop, and I was corrected in using the term tax, because when I look at my Lake County tax information, your final tax rate and taxes last year, your tax rate and taxes this year, if no budget change is made, your tax rate and taxes this year, if proposed budget change is made, you'll have to understand that I'm assuming that what we're talking about is my taxes. So I understand we're talking tax rate, and you are given the responsibility to set that. A little more than 2 weeks ago, when I opened my mail, I was shocked at 666%, which is what promoted me to come down. 2 weeks ago, when we were here, or whatever it was, I did the math real quick. 0.53 mil turns out to be 353% increase, which still would have brought me down here to say, "Ho, wait a minute, that's huge. This is not an economy to be raising our tax rate. All of our homes are going up in value. You're already getting more. We need to figure out a way to stay within the means of this community." So I appreciate you doing your diligence and doing the difficult diligence to keep our tax rate, and thus the taxes we pay, as low as possible, so that we don't have to keep coming down here and complaining. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Wise.
My name is Nancy Wise. I am the Division Director of Patient Registration and PBX for UF Hospitals, Central Florida, and I am responsible for the team that works with our patients to help qualify and make the submissions for North Lake eligibility. And I wanted to answer the gentleman's questions. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So it's a very lengthy process, and the first things we do is we make every last attempt to qualify all of our patients without insurance for any available funding. So that's the very first thing that we do. We actually have a company called Savista who is very expert in getting people qualified for disability. So anytime we see that they have the possibility of disability, they help that patient go through the process. We don't charge the patient for that. We pay for that out of the potential reimbursement that we get. So if we don't get paid, Savista doesn't get paid. And that's how most hospitals do it, because it's an expertise that's difficult to maintain in the hospitals. You know, getting somebody on disability, you see the law firms that do it, it's not easy. But we do that for our patients and at no charge to the patient. So that's the first thing we do. We also go through for the not disabled or not pending disability and make sure that they don't qualify for Medicaid. I have a team that work with the patients, help them do the submissions. We have a contract with DCF that we have a direct support function there, and they help us with that process to help people through the DCF process and to get them on Medicaid, because that just doesn't benefit them for us. It benefits the patient in getting medications, in getting, you know, we also work with something called ICP Medicaid, which helps pay for nursing homes. We can't get patients discharged safely, and we don't discharge them if it's not safe, without, in a lot of cases, patients needing nursing home care. And the nursing homes aren't going to take them if they don't have any kind of coverage. So we work with a special ICP Medicaid. We work with regular Medicaid. We double and triple check it. If they don't have it, we attempt to get it for them. And again, we help with all the forms and everything and get them through, in addition to that contract with DCF to help us with that process. So, and then on top of all that, even on like a simple ER patient, which we may not get to all the ER patients because they come in and out so quick, we triple check, we call them, we try to make sure that they, you know, get the process done on their own. And if not, Moore Lovelace, when they do our audit, they double check us. And if for some reason, maybe in between the time that we've done it and Moore is auditing it, if they find that, then they let us know. It's extremely rare, but I've seen it happen once or twice, so I know that they're checking. So it's us checking, it's them checking. We also work with referring patients to the marketplace, because sometimes, you know, there are a lot of patients out there right now who have some pretty terrible insurances. I have a patient who needs a major surgery, but it's an outpatient surgery. His insurance policy, a private policy, not in the marketplace, doesn't cover outpatient procedures at all. Not, and it's a very expensive procedure. There's a lot of things done outpatient now that are not cheap, you know. If they have longer surgeries, if they have, you know, other supplies that they need, implants, that sort of thing, you know, in order to keep the cost down, the whole emphasis the last few years is to do more as outpatient. So this poor man has a policy that he thought was a good insurance policy, and this is a current situation, and he has no outpatient coverage. And we can't ethically admit him just so he has insurance coverage. You know, that's against the law. We can't do that. So if he does meet criteria, he'll get admitted. You know, you never know. But if not, then we're working with him on other things. And one of the things we offered him was to we have some contacts with the marketplace that are not paid that will help patients get on good marketplace accounts. I'm sure you guys have read that there's a lot of bad actors out there with the marketplace selling policies that people don't even know about, but we have contacts with the ones that are not getting paid by it the same way, and they will help our patients. And there's a lot of opportunity to sign up for marketplace even outside of the normal time frames. As you've seen all the commercials on TV, if you get married, if you get divorced, there's all sorts of reasons. They're very open to letting people sign up in between open enrollment. So we look through that for patients. You know, if a patient has a job and they can afford that, then they would rather go that way. Most of our patients don't want to do this. Northlake only pays the hospital and the clinics. And some of the clinics do a great job of getting patients pharmaceuticals, but not all of them. And so, the nursing homes are not there at all on the serious patients. So there's a lot of things that aren't covered. So if we can get Medicaid for the patient, it's better for us. And, that means we're going to get paid on an ongoing basis. And it's better for the patient because they have better coverage. They can get in to see clinics. There's the clinic that sees all of the Medicaid patients, and they do a great job. And that keeps them out of our emergency room. We all know the emergency room is crazy busy and a very not cost-effective way of taking care of minor things. And so we do everything we can do to work with all of our clinics, and getting the patient on Medicaid helps get them to the clinics that have Medicaid. If they don't, then we work very closely with the clinics, that take people with no insurance. But we are doing all of those things. Does that answer all your questions? Okay. Pardon me?
Still a few things.
But on that topic?
On that topic,
Okay, thank you. Do any of you have any questions?
No, it's like you're pretty thorough and you're good at what you do.
I will be honest with you, the manager that's over that area, she couldn't make it tonight. She's usually with me. She has the dark hair. She is an extraordinarily detailed person, and she's been with me for over 10 years. And she checks all of these. She checks every patient that goes through herself. And so that's why the auditors love us, because we don't make mistakes.
Hey. Good place.
It happens.
Thank you
It's
very
very rarely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Wenheim, I apologize that we didn't answer your question in the last meeting. And in order to do that, so you can have a good level of comfort.
And I
like to-
appreciate her coming and answering those questions. I do, and it makes absolute sense that a large corporation like this is going to look at every possible revenue stream that they can. They're going to look to see if they can get the patient on Medicaid or from the marketplace. I get that. But like she said, the ones that are in the ER in a hurry and out, what happens to those? The ones that aren't eligible for Medicaid, other things most likely are not legal, therefore they're not eligible for those things, still treating them. Are they automatically deemed indigent at that point? Those are some of the questions that I have.
Maybe I can further clear some of this up for you. The independent auditor's report that we just approved a few minutes ago, we have agreed upon procedures with him, and I'm reading from his report that he submitted to us. It was agreed that our engagement would be limited to the following procedures. Determine a statistically valid sample size, producing results that could be extrapolated with a 95% confidence level for each healthcare provider. Number two, interview the provider personnel responsible for the preparation of the indigent care report and update our understanding of the sources of information used to prepare the report and the controls used by the provider to ensure that eligible indigent encounter is recorded and that each recorded indigent encounter is eligible, properly valued, and medically necessary. Number three, obtain the quarterly report submitted by each provider identifying their indigent care encounters, verify the accuracy of any mathematical calculations in the reports, and on a test basis, agree the report information to the provider's source documents. Four, for each sample encounter, agree the encounter information to its source in the provider system. Additionally, obtain the patient file and review it for A, documentation supporting patient eligibility, that is, qualification pursuant to the provisions of the Florida Healthcare Responsibility Act, Section 154.3049, Florida statutes of the Florida Healthcare Indigency Eligibility Certification Standards, Florida Administrative Code, Rule 59H1000350. B, documentation that the recipient of the indigent care for which payment is sought is a resident of the district. C, documentation supporting medical eligibility, that is, the presence in the file of an appropriately authorized script or order from an appropriately licensed healthcare practitioner. Number five, for each sample encounter, look up the procedure code on the Medicare fee screen using the cost to charge ratio of the provider's most recently filed cost report. Determine the lower of the Medicaid reimbursement for identical or substantially similar care in the territory of the district or the cost incurred by the provider in the delivery of such care. So a lot of work goes into making sure that we're not overpaying.
We're dealing with millions of dollars.
We are.
I understand that. I worked in a municipality for years. I did budgets. I get it. If I could just reiterate what she said earlier, and I know why you put it at 1%. You didn't, statute did. But that's what got everybody up in arms.
Oh, we're
is they
good.
saw it. And I understand why it went to that, and that's, 1% was never on the table. I
No.
understand that as well. If I could just reiterate what she said, these are hard times. They're uncertain times more than anything else. If we could just be fiscally responsible in this, and I don't mind it going to our community clinics and hospitals, not corporations. Thank you.
Mr. Hurley, if I may, real quick, the document that you read, is that, Mr. Wenheim, maybe you could get a copy of what he read at one of the reviews of the audits, perhaps? Okay. Yeah.
Just for your information, those reports are all on our website, which is northlakecountyhospitaldistrict.com, that you can pull them up and review them.
Ms. Wise, did you have another comment? No. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we need to talk about the millage rate.
I had a question for Phil. On the 2023-24 proposed budget was 3 million, and now we're looking at another at 5. What's that variable?
So that's what we ended up. Our indigent care has obviously gone up. When we submitted the 3 million, that was based on previous years. You know, it's always kind of looking back. But I mean, I can't argue with what Christine came up and said. I mean, I think it's always good to compromise, and like she said, I was taught a long time ago, a compromise means that both parties are unhappy at the end of the day. So yes, that's the 5 million was submitted because that's what we had projected we have spent this past year. But we're looking to be partners, and if you see fit that 5 million is too much, we're not going to pick it and raise cane about it.
You're expecting that to be your outlay?
Yeah, and as I told Christine before, I mean there's been numerous years of underfunding by the district, and we really don't expect that the hospitals, because they haven't been in so many years, have to be fully funded. So what we have said in our proposal too is that we do hope the clinics are fully funded, and then whatever is left, because you don't know how much each hospital is going to see, we just kind of allocate the rest of it to the hospitals up to the extent that they can provide the need. And those numbers are really both, I don't want to speak for Waterman, but both those numbers are by the hospitals are there to give you an idea of what the full need we could potentially reach. So I understand it's a hard job to balance the two.
Thank you. So we have a motion for a mill rate?
I'll make a motion to keep it at .1383,
Okay.
which was what it was before.
Yeah.
Do we have a second? Okay, motion dies for lack of second. Do we have another motion?
I'd like to consider something to get a conversation going so that we can integrate some of the concepts of these ideas that many of these people that came up with Mr. Wenheim, Byers, and Ms. Falker. I think each of them make excellent points. This can't be one-sided, obviously. We have to consider the taxpayer. That's who funds the whole thing. That's who's served. That's very much paramount. That's who does this. That's who pays for this. Though I also have to balance it with, but this is our healthcare system. This is what we have. These are the people in the community that volunteer at these clinics. These are the hospitals that are here presently, regardless of their makeup. I think they do an excellent job. And of course, as we said before, our healthcare community is essential. I think we have to have some sort of a balance between the two. I would like to say also that the numbers are shocking if you look at it as if, and thank you for clarifying, Mr. Wenham, that that wasn't what anybody voted on. That's not it. And even if you look at it like that, at that meeting, the 0.6 proposed was a 400% increase in taxes, if you want to look at it that way. So all of it's ridiculous, if you look at it that way. And part of the reason this mathematical formula, which you take that 0.15 and, you know, you do the division with whatever's quote unquote proposed, those numbers are large because if I look back at the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken, we were, before I was on the board, like 0.8 something, 4 years ago, 0.5 and 0.5, and then 0.15. I understand, I wasn't on the board, so I don't know what the decision process was particularly like, but recognizing what you're saying and full credibility to what you're saying, I get that. That's what it ultimately is about. Why anyone's here is because of that. We're to provide that function that law says we're supposed to do, though, and thank you for recognizing that. I think something in the middle has got to be considered here. It would remedy the taxpayer who ultimately says, and not jeopardize those who are in need of this system currently. I think it was Ms. Falker who said, you know, if we could, if it's going up, could it be a gradual thing? We're seeing home values go up and property values go up, so that consequently you do get an increase anyways, thus the rollback rate and so forth. So I'm hoping, as I understand, we have a quorum, but we've got to be pretty much unanimous on this. And I want to respect what I've heard from Ms. Hooper and what I've heard from these gentlemen as well, where we think we are. My understanding also that if we don't come up with something, it's zero, correct? And then not only that, but funds can't necessarily be distributed in a certain way. So we have to be careful of a lot of things. So I want to introduce something, and I would like to mention Mr. Wenheim's number, provided that's with Mr. White, if you can confirm at least closely that somewhere around 0.35 or 0.384 is what he said. That would, I think he said, cover the rates that were last used by UF Health and so forth, or what that number would be. But you have on our tax district budget scenario worksheet that was in the last packet, a 0.3, which yielded, based on those new valuations, approximately 6.2 million, correct? And there's a rollover about 860. And as mentioned, there's an increase in the value of the properties. That yielded somewhere, $7 million almost. The clinics themselves, it looks like the clinic's expenditure, what they're requesting, is just over $1 million, correct?
Yeah, 1.6.
And the mental health hospital, 1.2 approximately.
Mm-hmm.
That would leave significant amount for the hospitals, but so I would like to say, based on that information, I would like to make a proposal of the millage rate be 0.3 and have a discussion about that and see what we can do to start working with some sort of negotiation so we have something that represents all the persons that are speaking here.
So, Matt, at 0.3, how's that, because I'm sure we're all in agreement that we don't want to affect the clinics. How's that, there's just 2 million basically to divide between the live stream, the Advent Health and UF Health. Is that correct?
Mr.
Or no,
Harper,
I mean, 7 million.
Mr. Harper, I think it was in the form of a motion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We need a second on that, and then we'll discuss it. Does anybody second that 0.3?
You second it just to have the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. Second it just to have the discussion.
Right. You have a motion on the floor, you need to second it. And once you second it, then we can have the discussion with
Okay.
Matt.
Then we'll have a discussion,
Right.
second for the discussion.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
So, Matt, if we do a 0.3, how does that affect the larger demand from the hospitals? What's that number?
He's trying.
Yeah.
I'm mathing, hold on. So, if I understand correctly, before I spout a number out, the 0.3 was meant to cover 100% of the clinics and live stream and then see what was left for the hospitals?
Yeah.
Okay. That would leave, without considering any reserves left over at the end of the year, to net zero would yield $4.3 million available to be split amongst the hospitals in any form or fashion of the trustee's desire.
And they're at 8.5, so it cuts them in half. Yeah, with the 800 still,
Yeah, that is inclusive of the carry forward and the new tax revenues generated.
The number mentioned earlier, .53, covers everything exclusive of the 800,000 that's left carried over, or would that include the 800?
It would include the 800,000. That would yield us a very minimal reserve at the end of the year while covering 100% of the clinics and hospitals' requests, inclusive of the carry forward from 23-24.
I know at our last meeting, our chair lady proposed .6, was seconded by Mr. Smith, which was a lot more than we need tonight.
Right.
We don't need that much. But at the time, we didn't know how much we needed. Tonight, we know how much, is being asked for by our providers.
That's a great point. I mean, respecting their input and their input they receive from the citizens they're speaking to and taxpayers, the .4 even, I'm not even recommending that. So apparently, there was some reason there to think that might be a reasonable number, is what you're saying, even from the rest of the board.
Would
though
you
they're
like
not
to
here
amend your proposal to
Uh,
4?
Well, I would like to see that, well, I want to go back to what I said before and reiterate. Remember, we were typically at .5 here,
in the historically?
Well, in the last couple of years
Yeah,
before the
historically,
.15.
right.
So the number of going up, and I'm like these
Yeah.
three that spoke of citizens, they bring a great point up, is the values obviously are up, and that's thus the reason for the rollback being lower and so forth. But this number came down significantly.
Yes, it's a large offset.
Right. So it's, between those numbers is what we're, just respecting Ms. Fulker's reasonable comment that, not a knee-jerk, but a gradual increase, perhaps, if that's what goes on. And Mr. Wine, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You have to come up to the podium, please.
I understand your point, Mr. Hurley, but I just don't think that it's fair to ask the taxpayers to go from .3 to even .6 in one fell swoop. It is a big, big ask of us, the taxpayers. We can't, in 1 year, fully fund the prior mistakes, misgivings, whatever it is. It doesn't matter at this point. This is where we're at. So again, I yield to, yes, I understand it was .5 before, but we also had property taxes values that were much lower than they are now, which is why a .5 was probably very needed and necessary. Again, our values are all up, but you now are looking at, let's just go basic math. Let's not do 400%. Let's not do 600%. Let's not play that game, okay? But let's look at real math. Real math says that if you go to .6, I'm still looking at 17 makes 30, a 47% increase in my taxes.
Yeah, .6, no one has mentioned.
And I understand you did that because that's what Ralph did in that one meeting. I understand, but I'm just saying, even if you went to the top line of .53, the taxpayer is now paying a 40% increase. I think that is a bit excessive in a 1 year span. So I don't even think .53 can be on the table. Personally, that's my vote. So
Now, if it ends up zero, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If we end up zero, then it's an infinite increase if it's $1.
And here's the thing,
So we gotta
and
consider
I'm on,
that.
I'm on both sides. I'm in healthcare. My basis is healthcare. Okay, I grew up in my last 30 years of my life, and Stephanie's, and we've taken care of people. I've taken care of people with nothing and for nothing. I'm not proposing zero.
I know that.
I'm
was just-
not.
we're-
Yeah.
Regarding the numbers, I mean, when.
I'm not.
so
Yeah.
The increase is totally
Right.
respecting what you're saying.
And I'm with Gary, .3, .35.
Yeah, great. And that's, I think that's the discussion we want
Yeah.
to have. They'll say, where can we get, where we can agree on something? Because we have to agree on something or we get nothing. So, and then so if that's the case, we don't agree, then what do we get?
But then you do education with the public over this next year as to why a potential increase next year might be looming and might be necessary, because the general public, I don't think they even understand what this board does. I didn't fully understand what this board does, and I'm in healthcare. I've spent 20 years in healthcare locally. So I think that falls on doing a good education, and I'm happy to help with that. But
You've done a
again,
great job educating yourself.
yeah, not to go to a 0.53.
You've done really well educating yourself on it, so thank you for that.
Let me just say, you said let's do real math, simple math for me. And, you know, I think I'm just kind of like your average Joe out here on the street. I receive Social Security. I'm on Medicare. I've reached that wonderful age where I get all those great benefits. I live in a modest home. If we go to 0.5, my taxes for the hospital is going to go up $69. That's what we're talking about, $69. $69 for me. And, you know, we talk about, and believe me, I sympathize with every one of you sitting out there. I'm not happy about $69. I'm not happy about $49. It's going to hurt me just like it hurts everybody else. But I know why I was sent here. I know why the people elected me to come here, so that we could take care of people who are less fortunate than I. And there are many of them out there. And I'm going to say this, if you can't afford $69 worth of tax, you're probably going to be indigent when you go to the hospital, and you're going to need what we're proposing here.
But that's the point we're making, Mr. Hurley, is you've got a lot of people that are on the edge right now.
That's right.
That $69 makes a difference. I'm sorry.
Come up.
$69 in a year. I just can't see that as a backbreaker for me. I just can't see it as a backbreaker. $69 a year, not a month, not a week, a year.
Well, maybe, can I say, next year, when we have a different administration in our government, things will be better. But right now, everything is going up, up, up. And there are people, poor people, who are struggling right now. And so I want to get it as low as possible.
Yeah.
And then next year, when things get better, we can raise it.
And I love the sound of as low as possible. I'm all in favor of that. But we do have a job to
In this lower range, these people, I think they make great points, and they're speaking as you are. They're mentioning the fact that we don't want to be haphazard with just flippantly raising taxes. That's absolutely not what I'm interested in either. But I recognize there's, when we just look at a brief history behind this, when you were on the board, of course, you had to have voted for those numbers as well. And as Ms. Fulker pointed out, some of those valuations of the homes have gone up. So, of course, it's more money.
Yeah, but if you bought the house and now your houses have gone up, that doesn't make you more wealthy.
No, right. Absolutely, right. But the fact of the matter is that it was at a particular numbers that were reasonable for the board to vote on then, doing the same thing that it's a task to do with now. So I'm trying to say, what is there lowest possible to get the thing function? I think unanimously, when I've heard everyone speak on this board, this last meetings, that the clinic issue is not an issue with anyone, I don't think, and I won't remember others. So we have that, and so far, insofar as the hospitals, the psychiatric hospital, you mentioned very clearly, I thought in a meeting before last, how those patients being treated there really reduced a lot of the impact on the rest of our healthcare system, including the sheriff's jail system, which is a very expensive healthcare, and that's a very big budget, which he's probably going to be needing more there too eventually. So those things do help, and also the hospitals weren't. The clinic said that they receive lab work and certain assistance from those hospitals, anyways, to help them in addition to what they receive from there. So there's a good deal of that money that goes to the hospitals you know, they're sending that much that doesn't qualify for this anyways, and these programs that they work with, and sending physicians and physicians' assistants over there, and they don't charge them for that, and it's not part of anything they can bill this board for. So just looking at the whole healthcare system, that we can't drop the bottom out of that, and that's where I'm hoping to have a consideration about what's the real number. And as this gentleman, Mr. Wenheim, said, he throws a number out there to say, look, and that's probably a high end for him. He's just saying, look, that's all it takes to get this much done. So perhaps we can discuss something in there is what I'm hoping to do.
All right. Matt, did you have a number that we talked about on which rate were you working off of?
I don't understand the question, sorry, Ricky.
Earlier, I'd asked if we went to a proposed, I think it's 3.84, and what would be left out of that? I think you already gave me the answer, I think, earlier, 4.3.
That's the .384 that just to,
Yeah.
or was that .3? Well, you've got .3s right here, I'm sorry.
It was at .3, would yield $4,360,255, not considering any reserve left over.
No, I don't think that's correct. I mean, maybe we misunderstood the question there.
Well, I was just asking, you had proposed a rate, and I was looking for what the leftover would be if we used the reduction to offset the expenses for the hospitals.
We have another lady that is requested to speak, with your permission. Edlin Fernandez.
Thank you for hearing me this quick second. I realize and I appreciate all the commentary from the community members. As the manager of Advent Health Waterman Community Clinic, I agree. The times are tough. The economy is tough. I myself live in Tavares. I have children. My insurance rates have gone up too. And it's tough for us too. And my husband and I both work, and we're in healthcare. As the manager of the clinic, and some of you have gone to the clinic, those that haven't, welcome it. We have seen that increase in our community for the need for coming to our clinic because they cannot afford for care. We don't want people going to the ER because we can provide more efficient care, and the care that the hospital is providing. We've had patients that work in the school board, lost their job, and then found out that they've had cancer. And these are the cares, these situations, as much as it is difficult for all of us as taxpayers, this was voted in the referendum acknowledging that when these people are in trouble, it would be more costly, more damaging for these folks to lose their home and impact our values of our home. We are caring for our community, our neighbors, and as difficult it is, and it is for me, seeing the impact on these lives that we're saving, catching on time, my heart sits in such respect for the work and the work that you guys do, and this is a tough decision. I just want you to acknowledge, because I do hear the citizens, but acknowledge the commentary from all the clinics and the hospitals, because we couldn't do what we do without that funding. So I respectfully hear them. As a member of the community that's suffering myself with the financial impacts, I get it. I do want you to hear that side, because every day these patients are coming through. They've either had the same situation where they can't afford insurance anymore. We go through a rigorous audit with, trying to get them through insurance, trying to get them through Medicaid. There aren't any undocumented patients that are coming through here. As I mentioned last time, we've seen a 127% increase in patient volumes. We saw, I think, 309 from what I submitted last time. So, we are not getting fully funded, and I think I've asked you in the last meeting to please fund that piece that we did not get funded thus far. But I'm fearful next budget session, we're gonna have that same scenario play out. We asked for 1,100 patients to be seen. We saw 1,409. And I saw more than that we submitted that will not be covered. So I just want to put that out there, because I know I'm not just speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for all the other clinics that have mentioned that they have seen more. And just as a citizen of Lake County and a city member in Tavares.
Thank you.
Any questions?
All right, so any more discussion? Are we ready for a vote?
If you don't mind, I'd like to clarify some numbers just to make sure we're all understanding of
Yeah.
what, before a vote would take place. My understanding was there was a motion at .3, is that right? Okay, .3 mil. Okay, that .3 mil would yield $6,138,368 in tax revenue for the organization. We do factor that this money sits at a bank for periods of time, and we do get paid interest. So we're factoring in about $50,000 in interest to be earned on some of the dollars while they soak in an account. We are carrying forward $860,061 projected carry forward into the next budget year. That would yield $7,048,429 available to be used to cover the expenses and expenditures of this, the administrative cost of this organization, as well as the request of the hospitals and clinics. So some of the overhead costs that I'm going to speak about here are variable based on what is collected. The tax collector and the property appraiser have fees they charge based on the dollars that are collected. So as you raise or lower millage, cost increases and decreases with it. So with a .3, we can estimate their fees to be approximately a combined $172,000. There would be another $216,000 for 12 months of operations of this organization. The cost to advertise, just the bare minimum to get with what we have. And just so the audience is aware, these trustees are paid just to be here just as much as you are, right? Zero. So that doesn't include any wages for anybody. That would be a total of about $388,374. It was my understanding too that the clinic's request of $1,063,800 would remain fully funded into this proposal, and the mental health hospital LifeStream would remain fully funded at $1,236,000 per their request. That would yield, without considering any reserve, $4,360,255 available to be split amongst the hospitals and/or a slight reserve carry forward to get by for the next budget period. Everyone, did I muddy the waters or clear it up a little bit? Good.
Helped? Yes.
Well, one of the, the hospitals are going to get shortchanged either way by, they've got $7 million that they requested 7.5, and we're looking at a 4.3. So there's a large gap there of unfunded debt that they're going to be carrying. So, we're here to help fund. I mean, it's the whole purpose of the statute was to help fund the hospitals for the people that didn't have the funds, the indigent care. So, we're not really fulfilling the obligations of the statute by this 3.0 number.
I think it needs to be made clear that the hospitals and the clinics are not here with their hands out asking for a donation. They have submitted the numbers that they have spent on indigent care. They have already spent those dollars. And this district was formed with the intent that we would reimburse them the money they spend. Mm-hmm. So if we don't give them what they're asking for, it's like you getting your credit card statement at the end of the month and making up your mind how much you want to pay. See how long that works for you. So I just want to make that clear. I mean, I'm hurting just like everybody else, and I want to go as cheap as we possibly can. But I've always lived by principles and values and morals, and I just can't see that we owe them money and refuse to pay it.
I don't disagree with you, Ms. Hurley. I just keep coming back to, I don't want to walk out here with a zero.
No, me either.
That's an issue. I mean, we can't just, if in 2026 it comes up a referendum, right? And speaking of what Ms. Volker said, we're to bring this thing up, right, respectfully. And then let the people we're working for here decide, right? Meanwhile, it's I'm trying to reflect back to say it's 0.5, and we've reasonably been the last couple of years. Granted, pointed out, the values are going up, so I understand that. Considering those things, this number between those two is around 0.3 something, right? It's not unreasonable, because it's how much, we're going to do percentages, how much less than that is it than it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago? It's significantly less, and even in a dollar amount, I believe also. So it's still less than anything except for last year, than in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Because it was so,
Dollar amount,
because it was so,
actual
it
amount
was so
paid.
low.
And it's not, and again, thank you again, Mr. Warnheim, for the detailed questioning about that money, how it's audited very carefully. It's one of the most scrutinized dollars in healthcare. So that's where I'm trying to work with here, is like, it's really not, and the semantics of how much of an increase or percentages, so that but over the aggregate of the last 5 years, it's well below the average. Dollar amount excluded. Yes, ma'am.
What about the elderly people who've been in their houses forever, and the taxes keep going up, but they're not making any more money? I mean, it's not their fault that their property values are going up. They live there. They don't want to have to sell it and move out.
Well, not to get into the details of that, I like the discussion that the Save Our Homes caps it at 3% a year, so the tax amount is only increased on that increase of 3% of the value. So it's a very small amount. It's not the entire amount. So if your house went up $100,000 in the last couple of years and it's a homestead, it would only be 6%. And then and then that 0.3% of that as a mill of that number. So it's it literally is only a few dollars over the year. One of mine in particular would be from prior years in the 40-some dollars to this year's, last year's taxing with a 0.15, around $16 for the year, and it would only go up to about $30 for me. I mean, and that's moving it, and I don't want to say moving it up to 0.3. It's getting close to the average, moving it reasonable, still under what I think thank you all. I'm getting isolated as the voices for the community and for the taxpayers. So the reasonable statements you're making. So I think I'm trying to listen and make some sort of yeah, right, exactly. And I know that we have to come up with something, and we have to agree, because between us, we represent everybody. So we do have to come up with something, and it's got to be somewhere in there, apparently.
Ms. Wise is asking. Nancy Wise.
Ms. Wise is holding her hand up.
Just to answer your question, I wanted to point out something I was kind of studying up on. There's a number of exemptions that also apply to older citizens, to low-income citizens, to widows, to first responders, to wives of first responders. So and there's also one for people that have lived in their house over 25 years, or in Lake County. I'm definitely not an expert on that, but there's one for over 25 years. So I think that that has been considered in the way the taxes are done.
Yeah, but those people have to apply for that, and how many of those people know that they can do that, and how do we get the word out?
Well, that's a good point, but very impactful, because if you look at the total percentage of North Lake compared to your total property tax, the impact is across the board with, we're the small little piece. And so I think that's a good point, but really it applies more to the other taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
In reviewing, I just did the math with a 75% or 25% reduction on both the hospitals leaves us about $6,381,000. If we took 25% out of the hospital request for paying them back, we're still shorting them. It's short. If we did a straight line item at 25% on Advent Health, at 25%, you're about $1.2 million, and UF Health would be about $2 million and some change. So I don't know if we want to try to do look at a percentage of what the actual line item that they're requesting, or if there's another avenue, if we're even we're looking to underfund this hospital group that's supporting us. Because we, you know, it's, that's where it's trying to target, so we need to target the line item, not so much the overall ask on the mill rate.
Well, as we talked about earlier, and Ms. Hooper agreeing that no one's opposed to the request for, as far as budgeting for the clinics and in the psychiatric hospital. So the question was just simply, well, you know, is there, how much can we work in negotiation here?
Yeah.
In a compromise to meet all these requests? I mean, that meets these
So-
reasonable statements. So that's the question. What can we get a unanimous vote on here?
So can you run some numbers for me, Matt? The 25% reduction from Advent Health and also 25 from UF Health, and see what our mill rate would
Just
be?
to clarify, for Advent Health, you're asking if we took their full request and reduced it by 25%.
Correct.
And the same thing for UF Health.
Correct.
Yes.
I just, because I mean, the hospitals are in the business of providing the help to the whole community, both hospitals, and we don't know travel patterns and how things go and where indigents go and where they won't go for sure. So we've always, as good partners with Waterman, have said, you know, kind of look at the funding of the hospitals as a whole, and then, you know, then allocate it equally to both of us. And then if one of us doesn't meet the needs, or we don't, which as we've talked about, because it's been so small, so it's been reduced so much, we always do meet the needs. But if you know, if you were to fully fund it, there could be one hospital that sees more than the other, and then that has typically historically gotten true up later. So to make maybe your math easier is part of the reason I came up there, is look at it as a whole.
Yeah, take the total.
Not try to divide
Add
one
them
hospital's
together,
percentage of the
'cause
other.
he's saying just share the burden.
Share the pot
Share the
that is
share the
left.
burden.
Yeah, share
Share
the
the
burden, share the pot, share,
Yes.
yes, correct.
And so that's basically splitting the request 50% with each hospital. So I'd like to know what that number would be, and also the mill rate.
Yes, ma'am.
From the clinic perspective, I just wanted to give a response. I know Ms. Hooper had mentioned the elderly. Anyone, and I'm not saying 50 is elderly, I'm just saying.
Come on now.
Above 50 and under by 64, 57% of our clinic patients for this last reporting period were of that age group. So we are seeing that in the clinic. And as I mentioned, 127% new patient volume. So just.
Yeah, so so I understand what you're saying. So the people that are in need or have a tax burden they don't think they can afford, they're probably going to be at your hospital using the services because they're in the situation where they're at. They may have to pay $25 more for the tax burden, or whatever the number is, if it's $69. But they're more likely to be visit your hospital getting thousands of, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of services provided.
And the
To-
clinic,
yeah.
so I'm just referencing that for.
Is that basically what you're
perspective
saying?
on that age group that are having hard times and that increase.
They're going to be at your hospital.
We're well, in the clinic.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm speaking on the clinic side, but just for that perspective, and respectfully so.
And they're all people that are under Medicare age.
Under.
Yeah, under, that's what I said.
Yeah, they're under.
50 to 64.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
You have the numbers, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. We're working on the fly here, so just bear with me. I apologize for that. If I understood this correctly, we were to add both hospitals' requests together to come to one unison number. Multiply that by 0.75, represents a reduction of 25% of their request. Now divide that net number by 2 and equally fund the hospitals. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, absolutely. All right, that would yield with very minimal reserves, that would yield a 0.41 mil.
And what would be the amount of dollars towards each facility?
$3,190,548.
When you say minimal reserve,
That's 100,000 in reserves, which is about 3 months of operating costs of this organization.
So that 4.1 wouldn't fund the providers plus our budget?
Let me clarify now. The 0.41 would fund, inclusive of the interest we're going to earn and the carry forward. That lump sum of new dollars plus interest plus carry forward from last year would fund our administrative expenses. It would fully fund the clinic's request. It would fully fund the mental health hospital, which is Livestream, and it would provide funding of $3.19 million to each hospital, leaving a reserve of $100,000.
And that's a 0.41.
Yes, sir.
I'm comfortable with 0.41.
We have a motion on.
Motion, yeah,
If
we're in
it is.
discussion over 0.3.
You want to adjust that, or you want to vote, take a vote on 0.3?
Well, thank you for that number. I mean, and again, I'm trying to keep in the balance here. I don't think anybody is saying, nobody wants to help indigent. I don't think anybody's saying, let's raise the taxes to the roof. So realistically, everybody is embodied by both halves to some degree. And it has to be something, again, we're gonna find an agreement on. And I keep going back to poor Mr. Wenheim over there, but I like his number. Was he apparently, he came up with something that, looking up the numbers, and it's very reasonable, you know, and the 0.41 is very close to that, you know. Like Ms. Hooper pointed out, the next board will be a different complexion. It'll be another year, and we'll go from there. And then the economics could be different, and a variety of other things. So I respect that reason but I think we look at the past average, this is far below in funding for this indigent care. And as you well point out, nobody wants to have an increased tax. The lesser the income someone has, and the more fixed it is, more difficult. But that's also, as Edlin pointed out, that's also the group of people that are most likely to need this. So if I all of a sudden need it, and it's like, oh, that's all I had to do was $40 this year, and then I'm the one getting, it's like, okay. You know, and it's sort of, I had this thought, having worked in the fire EMS for years, it's like we all pay on the back of our little trim notice, we see that we pay a non-ad valorem tax for our fire rescue, and it's like, well, I pay that $415, and then I
Don't even blink about
well,
I mean, it's because you think you need it.
well, my comment was along the line that was, if I didn't use the fire department last year to get my 415 back, I mean, you know, that's
Yeah.
I don't want to look at this board this way either. So I don't want, and I respect what I very much do. I am a conservative person, but I'm not. I just as arbitrarily get assailed with all these numbers. And thank you, Ms. Folker, for putting that to press. But the reality is, let's not snatch the rug out from underneath anybody here, because they are planning on, this is the current system that has been funded to them. So they're running operations. They're trying to do the best they can with a lot of volunteers. It's not helpful to just pull it down to nothing. And I know that the 0.15 is I'd rather have that. Yeah, if it was 1 cent less, sure.
Yeah.
Always goes to the taxpayer. That's the way I see it. But I like the balance thing here. And these are people that were strong critics. They're representing, I think, a large number of people, reasonable, and they've done their homework. I don't think it's unreasonable to listen to the one come prepared that pays taxes, right? So we're in that ballpark of 0.3. This is very reasonable, I think, of 0.3 to 0.41. So I would like to have, sure, economic times better. That'd be great. And it wasn't much of a concern, but nonetheless, it's here. So I think, 0.3 still does a decent, I mean, it's still accomplishing a lot. So I'm not against that number. Because I think it can be progressed up if needed be next year, So I would stick with that as my motion, and
Okay,
if it'll be seconded.
I think we'll call for a vote, and
And did you get a second on that, or no?
call the roll.
Mr. Harper,
No.
Ms. Hooper, Mr. Hurley,
No.
Mr. Jordan.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay. Motion for a millage rate?
I'd like to make a motion of 4.1.
0.41.
0.41.
We have a second? I'll second.
And this is up for discussion again.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm, like I said, I'm sorry about that to jump in, but Ms. Hooper said no on point 3. Yes, so please, I mean, we have to have an agreement, so I need to know what we're working with. I mean, we want, the point 3 was no, obviously it's going to be no point 4.1 if indeed point 3 was too much, or is it too little, Ms. Hooper?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
question.
it was too much, but I'm thinking next year, hopefully the economy will be so much better.
Yeah, we're actually, before you come up, Phil, we're actually funding what they've already spent. So next year's will be reflective of what the budget they present. Now we're working off the budget that's presented now.
Yeah.
So we're working off numbers that they're already going to have spent or in the process of spending. So next year's budget will have to be reflective of what next year's needs are. Because it's, we're having to find out what next year's needs are because there's no way to see what that need is. Right now, their need is here and right at the 25% cut. There's what's the reducing millage from 5.3 to a 4.1. So there's a little over 12% cut off of their full need.
Well, Ms. Hooper, I'm like you, I'm very optimistic that next year we're gonna be sitting here at this time
It's going to be
with
great.
more money in our pockets.
Exactly.
And everything could be looked at in a different light. And I'm hoping that. My understanding is that Matt has given us a bare minimum that we really need to do what we can do this year. And it is tough. I mean, I'm not happy with it, but I think it's what we need to do. And hopefully next year it will be better. And it's less than what was proposed at our last meeting. It was proposed 0.6. We're down to 0.41, so we're looking at better numbers now than we were a few weeks ago.
And if there's carryover, then I'll be, if there's carryover from this year to next year, then that'll be reflective of that too. Phil?
Let me entertain Phil.
I just want a point of order and clarification. If you have a quorum, I've been coming to a lot of these meetings for a lot of years, and I have seen votes that are majority vote. So I think once you have the quorum, as long as you have the quorum, that the decision is made by majority vote, not a unanimous vote. So I'm just being, because that's Robert's Rules of Order too. Motions just need a majority unless otherwise stated somewhere.
With
Yeah.
the 6-person board, that's still so.
You have a 4-person that's necessary to conduct business, and you have a majority for a vote.
Thank you. Clarification.
Hey, this is good.
Well, thank you for that clarification, Phil.
I'll entertain you, Mr. Wyndham.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate this. And in my 3 minutes, I probably got about 15 seconds left.
45, I was counting, you got.
Financial decisions can't be made with the heart. And Mr. Hurley said earlier, and I respectfully have to disagree with you, the voters did not put you here to fund the indigent. If they had done that, they'd have put Bill Gates up there. They'd have put somebody up there who could.
The legislature put you here to fund.
100%.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is, none of us are going to be happy with how this comes out. But this decision can't be made from the heart. This has to be a fiscal decision. I sit on boards, I sit on a financial board, I've sat on boards with Ms. Hooper, and not all the decisions are fun. You don't go home and lay your head on the pillow at night and go, man, I'm really happy with what happened. But this can't be done from the heart. This has to be a financial decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And in talking about financial decisions, there was in the packet, I don't know who's got it, but how much, this is kind of sidebar, but, the hospitals bring an economic business and people to our community. Without that support, the economic base of that, the McDonald's and everything else around it doesn't grow as well. So we appreciate the hospitals in here, and they've already got an indebtment that they're asking to be reimbursed to.
Okay, if discussion is over, let's call for vote. Ready?
No, this, we're talking about .41 still.
May I ask for a brief reprieve on that vote? I need to clarify whether there is a simple majority of the quorum or if it needs to be unanimous. My initial understanding is the statute would require unanimous. So let me, if you just bear with me for a few minutes.
And because of that same section that says a vote of 4 is in the same section as quorum, I mean, unless it says supermajority or must have 4 affirmative votes, then you have to interpret it as a majority vote. That's Robert's Rules of Order as well. A motion has to be made, you have to have a quorum. Once a motion's made, it's a majority unless specifically says otherwise. And I know it does not say unanimous, and I know it doesn't say four people approve. Otherwise, we might be here a while.
Yes, that is correct. Sorry. The budget? No, we haven't. Read it by title. Are you looking at the bill or are you looking at the trim?
Yeah.
Understood. My understanding, and I just want to make sure that this is done properly because if not done properly, with violation of trim and it results at a 0, which is, well, I just want to clarify. I wouldn't say unanimous consent of the entire 6. It would just, my understanding was unanimous of who is present. I just want to, you might feel you might be right on the matter. You might be right. You might be right. I'm not.
The House Bill 1299 says 4 of the trustees shall constitute a quorum, and a vote of at least 4 of the trustees is necessary for the transaction of any business of the district. It does not talk about having majority or unanimous, but if you're looking at the trim, that's different.
Can I just read the statute and let you interpret it as well, Mayor? No millage shall be levied until a resolution or ordinance has been approved by the governing board of the taxing authority, which resolution or ordinance must be approved by the taxing authority according to the following procedure. A1, upon preparation of a tentative budget, but prior to the adoption thereof, each taxing authority shall compute a proposed millage rate necessary to fund the tentative budget other than the portion of the budget to be funded from sources other than ad valorem taxes. In computing this, proposed or final millages, each taxing authority shall utilize not less than 95% of the taxable value certified subject to Section 1. The tentative budget of the county commission shall, that's county commission related. Tentative budget of a school board is school board related. Taxing authorities other than the county and school district shall prepare and consider tentative and final budgets in accordance with this section and applicable provisions of law, including budget procedures applicable to tax, provided such procedures do not conflict with general law. Okay, I don't see anything in there that states it requires unanimous. I may be just misremembering, and Phil's likely to be right in this manner. I would yield to the legal counsel to make sure, because if we are out of compliance with trim,
You're reading Florida Statute 200.065? Yes.
section.
My understanding that Phil and I are in agreement as to how it works.
And I yield to the experts on law.
Okay, if you'll call the vote.
Okay, we're voting on a .41. I just want to clarify that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we open to any more discussion? Or we are called for a vote?
I think we're calling for a vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Ms. Hooper? Mr. Hurley?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan? Ms. Price? Mr. Smith?
Okay.
All right. Next on our agenda is the Resolution 2024-01 to adopt the budget. And we voted a while ago that it could be read by title only.
Yes, we did. Resolution of the North Lake County Hospital District providing for the adoption of the proposed budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Okay. And we will have public comments if anyone would like to speak on our budget. Okay, seeing no comments, you have the resolution in your packet. Any discussion about it?
Yes,
Can we get Matt to complete the resolution? Just one moment with the numbers, and then we'll know what we're voting on correctly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's all right. We're waiting on the two brightest minds in Lake County to put these numbers together.
While he's doing that, so looking back on our spreadsheet, in 2022, the hospitals were funded $2.7 million. In 2023, they were funded 3.6 to Advent and 3 million to UF. This proposed budget of 4.1 is going to be a 3.190, $3,190,000 to both Advent and UF. So it's very close to in line to the last previous 2 years. Of course, it was underfunded last year because of some issues that I think somebody had to leverage that. But so we are basically in line for what we, other than, we're in line for what the numbers here look good, but I'm sure there are costs at the hospital have increased 30 or 40%. So this number is really short, 30 or 40% over their cost of goods and hospital care and nursing. The nurses are, if a nurse was $25 an hour, now they're $35 an hour. So just
inflation.
we've underfunded them already at $3,190,000, I'm sure, looking at past years at the 4.1.
Just for clarification, maybe I misunderstood. The 2023, 2024, the requested funding was the 3 million plus for the hospitals, but the approved funding was the 806,000.
Yeah, okay, you're right, so I'm
Okay.
incorrect. So yes, so they were shortfall by 2 million, yes.
Yes.
You're,
Okay.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
Sure, we have the figures available to read the proposed resolution 2024-02. Am I free and clear to just read the numbers at the bottom here? Okay. Now therefore, be it resolved as follows: the North Lake County Hospital Board of Trustees hereby adopts total operating budget expenditures and carry forward of $9,301,041 for 2024 and 2025. Next bullet, the adopted budget represents an increase in expenditures and carry forward of $131.7 0.09% from last year's budget. This resolution shall take effect October 1st, 2024.
All right, any discussion on?
Yeah, repeat that, the dollar amount, please.
The total budget of, operating budget expenditures and carry forward of $9,301,041.
Well, on our worksheet that you did before, where's the associated line on that, where you have the other millage rates?
It's the total medical care,
Gotcha.
total expenditures plus the carry forward amount
Okay.
of 100,000. So in this case, what you have in front of you likely doesn't reflect that. Much of it has changed during the discussion of this meeting. If you'd like, I can restate the numbers according to the budget, if you like,
That's fine.
based on the proposed millage.
I have just one question about the budget. Our website went from $1,500 to $2,894, almost double. How'd that happen?
We were working with a company that wasn't doing anything for us, and they were out of state, and we finally got a local website master who was willing to change things and post them on a regular basis. That's how it happened.
Do you know today he's still advertising the August 29th meeting?
I did not know that, but I will look. And that's perhaps our fault of advertising the August 29th. I thought that I looked and that there was the September, if you scrolled on down, but I'll check it. You're welcome.
Any other discussion on the budget?
We did clarify, though, that what Mr. Harper's request of splitting the amount, it had exceeded the full budget. Is that correct? Between the two?
Yes, on the line items, we want to share 50% with each hospital. Is that what you're asking?
That was part of this?
Yes, so
Okay.
that's what you're doing. Is that
Make
how
sure
it's
that
going to
was
be
clarified.
presented at the next?
Chair, there's someone who has their.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a clarifying question. So the funds that the clinic had submitted, the patients that we have seen over the budgeted amount, the decision to fund that from before, has that decision been made yet? Is that being made this session or the next one?
It was not a request of the trustees to make that an agenda item for tonight's meeting, and we don't have it as an agenda item for the next meeting either. It's to the will of the trustees if they'd like to reallocate current expected carry forward against, did you guys understand what her request does? In 2023 and 2024, they have seen more and requested more funding than what was budgeted, and then we've only approved up to their budget. But there are carry forward funds that can be reallocated instead of carrying forward to approve additional payments to those entities and clinics and hospitals that submitted claims that were approved by the audit process in excess of their budget.
So the previous year, our clinic was underfunded, and I appreciate the support that you all have had for our clinics. I know I was not the only clinic last year, and in this year, we've seen in excess compared to the prior year.
Just to clarify that, underfunded based on what your actual expenses were, but we fully funded what was approved by the trustees according to the budget.
Correct.
Yeah, just want to make sure everyone's aware of that.
Clarification, right. That clears that up then. So the request, I don't have it in front of me, but from last year to this year, your request, with the change with that.
So I believe last year, I had submitted, my estimated budget was for 787 visits, and I believe you may see it, I submitted 829, and this last year, I had budgeted estimated 1,100 visits, and we actually submitted for 1,409, which is a significant increase. And we actually saw more than that, but that is what we submitted for.
Matt, do you have the carryover amount that she's looking for?
Unfortunately, Moore Stevens Lovelace provides this report, and
Yeah, I'm looking at the report.
Yeah, so
and,
with the.
It was not very,
The organization's name one more time, please.
Heaven Health Waterman Community Clinic.
Clinic, right, the most recent request, this is the March 31st request, was 56,730 as I shouldn't say request, the approved amount according to that was 56,730, and then for the quarter into June 30, it was 17,980. I don't currently have access, I don't believe, to the numbers that were submitted beyond the budget that was approved by them. So, to the point that she's making is, budget request last year was 170,500 fully approved by the Board of Trustees, of which 170,500 has been approved to pay them. And she's saying there are costs submitted in excess of that, and is
So her-
wondering if the trustees are willing to.
her cost is $17,980.
That's what was approved as part of the agreed-upon procedures. Without Moore Stevens Lovelace here, I don't have access to
Don't have
that
the
side of it.
numbers.
Is that quantified in a particular
Yeah,
quarter?
and-
I'm sorry.
170,500, yeah.
That's what was totally requested.
For budgeted, what we budgeted, what we assumed would have been.
Do you know what the shortfall is?
Yes, hold on a second. This is me off of my brain, so this may be just a tad off, but I believe. $309 visits, 47,895
Is your shortfall?
is my shortfall
From last-
for this year. This past July 1st through June 30th. So as you all continue to support the clinics, I ask that that be considered for reallocation, please.
What's the total dollar amount again?
47,875?
47,895.
895?
And I would obviously have you all verify that with the auditors, but from my memory off the top of my mind, I believe that is accurate.
Meredith, can we make a tentative,
I guess the clarification will be, will the trustees request that we gather the necessary information prior to next meeting to see what shortfalls are out there to balance against what cash is available
yes, that's,
for potential
I
discussion?
would make a motion to do that.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Thank you so very much.
Then that would obviously impact discussion over budget.
Got another hand over here.
Yes, sir.
From community health centers, if that can of worms is going to be opened, I'm going to request an additional $140-some thousand because we were over budget. And I don't want to go, I don't really agree with that because we ask for a certain amount based on a certain amount. Yes, we did go over, but I asked for more this time. So I'm in the middle of a conundrum because I don't agree with it, but if you're going to do it, I'm requesting that.
For a moment of clarity for you and any other person representing the clinics and the hospitals, we will get the submitted and approved amounts by every single hospital and clinic, submitted and approved. That's the only bit of access we're going to have. If it wasn't submitted, it wasn't subject to the audit procedures.
We're all.
If they were perfect, that'd be perfect.
I got cut off. I was over during the third quarter.
Third quarter, I think you told us last time.
Yeah.
Understood, but for full transparency to the people, that I think it would be items that were covered by the audit procedures to make sure they were legitimate. Now, we can get those numbers from the agreed upon procedures CPA firm that does those procedures. We will present that information and the will of the trustees to review it by clinic, by hospital, and make any necessary adjustments by clinic or carte blanche across the board and some sort of weighted average or whatever.
We'd have that at our next meeting.
That'll change your carryover numbers, obviously. So
I wish more Stevens Lovelace was here to clarify whether that information is available, but I will make understanding that the trustees would like to know exactly what was submitted, subject to audit, in total by clinics compared to what we funded them to see who was over and who was under, okay, and then determine whether there's any allocations to be made on that. But I am limited to the information provided through those agreed-upon procedures by Moore Stevens Lovelace. Those are the only ones that have been audited to verify that they're citizens of this special district, that they meet the eligibility requirements of indigent, et cetera. So if they've been through those procedures and they're approved by Moore Stevens Lovelace, I will present the information.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion? Budget? Okay, motion?
We need a motion for
To accept approve
the resolution that was presented.
on the budget, yes.
Yes, make a motion to accept the resolution that was presented.
Okay,
Second.
second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
I think we have to do it by separate vote, I'm sorry.
Oh,
We're required to do it by separate vote.
or,
Harper,
yes.
Ms. Hooper, Mr. Hurley,
Yes.
Mr. Jordan. Thank you.
All right, low-income pool letters of agreement.
We don't have any at this time. Phil, can you inform us of any status of the letters of agreement? We haven't received anything.
Okay,
Mr. Dickens.
ACA has not sent the notices out. Because I'm, not through this, but through other Orange County, I'm waiting on the same lift notices.
What we have asked in the past when this has happened is we've asked for authorization for the chair, the vice chair, to have authorization to execute them once the letters of agreement come down.
And just to piggyback onto that, we will provide information about what was tentatively accepted as the budget tonight to make sure that there is enough budgeted line item to cover the the low-income pool funding portion.
okay, thank you. Are there any other matters that are necessary to achieve our goals for our aforementioned goals? Okay, anything else? Any new business?
May I just say that the next meeting will be scheduled for September 26th at 5:30, and that will be for the final adoption of the millage rate and the budget. And I appreciate your attending.
All right, thank you.